Okay. Hi, everyone. This is the first of these I've ever done, but I think I've got some stuff figured out where you'll be able to hear me and the things on my computer. This is the mixing and mastering group. You are the largest group, so that's exciting. A lot of people wanted to check this out. So I've got kind of a improvised setup here, but we're figuring it out together. So mixing and mastering. Some of you are in my sound engineering classes, and so a little bit of this will be review. Some of you are not, but I've done a bunch of different production and stuff like that. So let's get into it. So the other thing is, like, there's a lot of things that get confused for mixing and mastering. So like recording an actual song, putting vocals down, producing the beat, etc. Now, a lot of producers, including myself, you kind of mix as you go. But if we're talking about the process of mixing and mastering, let's separate those two things because it is a separate process. And even beat producers who are making their own beat, they have someone else who comes in and mixes it after the fact. You know, every little kick and snare and so on. So anyway, overdubbing and doing ad-libs and stuff like that is part of the recording process. But just to be clear, organizing the tracks and editing the tracks. So when I say editing, I mean like cutting out stuff that doesn't need to be there, fading stuff. If there's any little like clicks at the end of a region or a track, fixing that sort of thing so that you can then focus on the sound. So I pulled up one of these. If you're in my sound engineering class, you remember these. We did a stems part 3. And this is a page, and I'll send out the link to it. But this is a page. Originally, it was along with a book called Mixing Secrets for the Small Studio. And so if you search this, again, never mind, I'll post the link. But I went and chose one from I listened to a couple. Actually, Alan Stone, who's on this one, is a really great artist, but there wasn't an edited excerpt. And then also it's really well produced already, so it's going to be hard to make it sound much better. But I grabbed this track. I've never heard of this person, but I downloaded just 13 tracks, much smaller. And so here's the original. Here's how they mixed it and what it sounds like from them. One thing I'll say, not ideal about my setup, and I'm going to try to figure this out, but we don't have a stereo image, so you won't be able to hear the left and right.
'Cause you got the love I crave. Give it all to me, and don't be afraid. Hold me close, as you I shall. It's getting close to the midnight hour. Hey, oh.
Yep, so that's what we've got downloaded. Now, when I play this, it's going to sound very different because these are just the raw tracks. Nothing exciting going on here. So I just zoomed out so I could see them all. I'm clicking enter. This is on Logic, everyone. If you're using Logic, great. This will be a little bit easier to follow along with. If you're not, it's all the same principles. Logic is kind of, it's enough like Pro Tools and Ableton and Studio One and even Audacity. And then obviously it's basically a more advanced version of GarageBand. So even the look of it is relatively familiar for GarageBand folks. So anyway, I'm starting from the beginning, and all I'm going to do first, and this is the organizing part of this. All I'm going to do first is listen to what's what. I'm going to do stuff like adding colors. I might add little pictures. Yeah, I'll go ahead and add little pictures there just to make it look, to help me organize a little bit better visually. So here's what the raw tracks sound like.
Give it all to me, and don't be afraid. Hold me close, as you I shall. It's getting close to the midnight hour. Hey, oh.
And that's it. So if I look in my mix window, I've got nothing going on. It's still peaked as the stereo out. That's unfortunate, but whatever. So first thing I'm going to do is listen to these things and what's going on. Even though it tells me what it is, I want to make sure there's no extra stuff going on that I don't like. How much do they isolate the kick or the snare, the overheads, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and listen to just my kick. Right, so that's pretty isolated, pretty thumpy. Snare. All right, so I've got a pretty light little click here. If I zoom in on that, I can see those. And then where he hits the actual drum, it's a little bit bigger. But it's pretty isolated. You really can't hear much of anything else with it other than the snare. Tiny bit of cymbal. And the overheads. So now we're hearing the room. We're hearing quite a bit of room. This is also the only place where there's going to be cymbals in the mix because the snare is so isolated. Cool. So that sounds fine. And then these toms. We've got 4 toms. That's a lot. Here's the thing though. Nothing at the end. I don't know exactly what happened and in terms of like why did they even keep these on there, but none of these toms have anything on there. So if I go to the end, the only place where I see in the waveform, you can hear, the only thing you can hear is bad, and that's the kick drum resonating this tom. Boom, boom. So as a result, this is a perfect example of editing. Select, delete. Those tracks aren't doing anything for me. No point having them take up extra processing in my computer, and so on. Oh, that's a notification. You guys, whatever, ignore it. Here's the bass. What does it sound like? There's a little click there. Okay, so I'll check that out, but overall it's a really nice bass sound. Oh yeah, you can see where it's not even right there. Instead of it being a even sine wave, there's a little bump. I'd have to think about how to fix that, but all right, acoustic guitar 1. Oops. Ooh, nice chords. The other one. Okay, so it's almost the same rhythm, but there's kind of playing slightly different chords and voicings. But they're definitely layered. They weren't played together or at the same time in the studio. It's also causing some phasing where they're kind of overlapping and causing each other to, yeah, there's some weird stuff going on there, but it's not a bad thing necessarily. Here's the electric guitar. Similar to the acoustic chords. Cool. Pretty light sound, really just texture. And then second electric guitar. This is pretty cool. So I think they just used their volume control on their electric guitar and then made these swells happen. And then a tremolo. Yeah, so as these other guitars are fading out, this one pops in with a little extra. Yeah, it's kind of a cool effect. All right, and lead vocals.
You got the love I crave. Give it all to me, and don't be afraid. Oh man.
All right, so it's super dry. You can't hear a room in there or anything. But you'll notice if I look at the track, there's huge variance in volume, which means I'm probably going to have to compress this a little bit to even it out. You know, this phrase right here. Sorry, you can hear my wife giving a voice lesson. But anyway, this phrase right here.
And don't be afraid.
And this.
Night out. Hey.
Yeah. Very different. And when it comes to those two phrases popping through the mix and working with all these other instruments, it's gonna take some extra work. Now, he's louder when the rest of the band is louder, so that helps, but it's still stuff to work with. So I'm going to organize these. I don't like, and these numbers are now off because I deleted some stuff, but I don't like having the 01 kick. That way I'm reading the one. Some people probably don't care, but and then every program does this differently, but I'm going to right click on this and just change these really quick. So you don't have to watch me do it. I'll do this later. And then with colors, view, show colors, or the shortcut is Alt-C. Again, this is just in Logic. And then I could color code this. I found myself using like low sounds are like more purple, or so like my bass and my kick might be purple. But I don't know. I think most engineers kind of decide what their colors are and then they keep it across all of their sessions. So I will color code this. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to add these little things. So again, all we're really doing here, we haven't really gotten past this screen. We really haven't gotten into mixing. I haven't done anything other than change the colors I haven't done anything. I'm just listening. And that's super important. You got to know what's there, especially when it's not your track. You know, at first, most of you are probably just engineering and mixing and mastering your own stuff. But understanding the principles, not just related to your own music, will definitely help you when you apply it to your own. So I think I'm going to stop there because otherwise this is just going to get a little too long. And I don't know how long this is already. But let's stop there. I'll organize these tracks and create another video for the next chunk of stuff.